we're talking World Diabetes Day today. In just a moment, the professor, the president of the association, that's the Diabetes Association of Nigeria, will be joining us to have this conversation. Bukola, I do remember clearly we try to have this conversation as often as possible to mark the day, to recognize the challenges of persons living with diabetes. I remember I was watching a video, I think by a Aproko doctor, yesterday or 2 days ago on TikTok or one of the social media platforms, where he was warning against some of these contests they do online, food contests where people will just eat potpourri of things. You're eating, I don't know, so many things. You're eating all kinds of variety all at the same time because it's a competition. You're eating egg, you're eating a bar, you're just eating just a bar.
Packing it.
You're just eating anything. You know, so it was warning the fact that as much as you're creating content and getting all the numbers you want to get or win prizes, that for the people that put up the challenge, you should just be careful, because some of the things that he was explaining in that particular video can lead to diabetes, talking about a release of insulin and all of that. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know the technical thing here, but basically it was saying that because of the rate of consumption, what it can do to your body. You know, they give them time, say, eat this in the next 5 minutes or 1 hour, or whatever time it is given, and all these popular things. So for you, say, it's cruise, it's vibe. Don't vibe yourself to the grave. That's what it was saying. So, but World Diabetes has talked about the issue of the sugar in your blood system. And this awareness, today is also to create awareness for you to go and check your blood sugar level. Fasting, especially the fasting one, that has to happen, I think, before 9 o'clock or 8:30.
Before you have had breakfast.
Yeah, but the best time is between when you wake up, maybe 5, 6 to like 8:30. You may get the best of results, or between 9 from the ones I have done. Try to check that your blood sugar is at the right level. The doctors have their measure as to what is right and what is not right. So, but we try to use today to create that awareness as much as possible, to say, okay, for those who are sufferers, we empathize with you. Because I remember when we had a conversation about how expensive their medication. So the gentleman that was here is one of the leaders or one of the ESCO of these associations. He had told us that before now, what could take, let me just use a hypothetical situation. He said he spent about, let's say, 9,000 for his insulin or so, but now he has to spend about 66,000 because of, you know, what the economy looks like. So there was a time his family had to make a decision, him staying alive or the children going to school. So they chose him staying alive, so his own children had to stay back at home for him to be able to afford
that was really
the medication. It was a very heartbreaking moment for me on the show that particular day. Literally almost messed me up that a child wouldn't go to school because of 66,000 to be able to cope with the medication of their father. So that's why we're mainstreaming this conversation. It's not every day we're talking politics. These are the issues: medication, healthcare, and all the reforms that are necessary to make sure that if somebody is suffering from a particular disease, we may not at this point be able to question how it got there, but it's already here anyway. How do we help the person to manage life and live a more productive life while the person is dealing with the challenge?
And it's a good time to talk about sugar-sweetened beverages as well. You know, Aproko doctor would say that the only thing he takes in terms of liquid is water, and you know that features prominently in a lot of his content. There's no better time than now to talk about that, you know, to remind us all of the need to, you know, be just a little more cautious about what we take in. I've attended conferences, you know, when an analysis was done on, you know, the sugar level that goes into this beverages, you know, and it is, you know, very, very concerning when you know that 14 cubes of sugar has gone into your favorite SSB drinks. And so, you know, as time goes on, when one matures, advances in age, one needs to be more cautious, more intentional, you know, about choices in food, choices in lifestyle, choices in drinks, choices in taking alcohol. And this is the time to mainstream that conversation, and of course also empathize with the community of those who are dealing with diabetes. And, doing regular checks is equally important, your sugar level, such that you can learn to reduce the sugar level. We understand that our guest has joined us now. Jeffrey, you have this one.
All right, let's bring in Professor Jofo, who is the President, National Diabetes Association of Nigeria. Prof, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Fantastic. Tell us why this day is important.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. Today, the 14th day of November, is globally marked as World Diabetes Day. This day is very, very important because it's a day to bring to limelight the scourge of the disease called diabetes mellitus, which is currently ravaging the world and has become a global epidemic. The World Diabetes Day has been in place since 1991, started by the International Diabetes Federation, and it became a United Nations Day in 2006, when the United Nations, after their 61st resolution, recommended that diabetes should be tackled as a global epidemic, because if it is not done so, it's capable of wrecking global economies and is a very important militating factor to achievement of Millennium Development Goals. So Nigeria and the Diabetes Association of Nigeria, which I represent, is a member of the International Diabetes Federation, affiliated to the World Health Organization. So we join the rest of the world on the 14th day of November every year, like today, to celebrate World Diabetes Day, to pass the message that diabetes mellitus is now a global epidemic and Nigeria is not left out. And the health challenges associated with this disease and how it is very important to prevent diabetes in order to reduce deaths or mortalities arising from this condition.
Prof, let's talk about some data. So walk us through the data that I know you're quite familiar with. I know it's almost like a broken record, but I'm sure data is updated. Let's talk about data in terms of the prevalence. How many persons in Nigeria have diabetes, and what is the level of prevalence of diabetes in the country? And maybe you can also help us with the distribution in terms of demographic.
Thank you. Actually, the data is estimated, and is estimated percent. These 5% of local studies that were conducted in Nigeria in the last years, ideally, Nigeria is supposed to have a national survey incurable disease by any survey in this country, and we don't have a national diabetes registry. So we're working on these estimates, and if you check 5.7% of a population of over 200 million, we estimate that about 11.4 million people are living with diabetes in Nigeria. And this prevalence, this figure, represents only about half to 1/3 of the actual number of people living with diabetes in this country, because majority of people are not yet diagnosed because they have not been screened. Well, in terms of geographical distribution, the study, the meta-analysis suggests that the South region has a higher prevalence of diabetes, while the least is the North Central region. This may be as a result of, differences in diet, level of physical activity are yet to be identified. Thank you.
So let's talk about SSB, which I, was speaking to earlier on. And we know that besides your organization, there are other development organizations that are in the vanguard of advocating for an SSB tax. What is the update on the advocacy for the increase in SSB tax? And what levels have you achieved in requiring accountability for the SSB tax to be properly channeled? For instance, to go to helping diabetes patients, for their treatment and care in terms of affordability.
Thank you very much for bringing this very important question on SSB. You see, the SSB, of course, which stands for sugar sweetened beverages, constitutes very important, part of one healthy diet that is, one of the risk factors for development of diabetes globally. They increase blood glucose, they overwhelm the pancreas, they lead to obesity and insulin resistance, and all these things can lead to diabetes mellitus, and in fact, other non-communicable diseases like hypertension, cancers, and all that. So we are going in the forefront of advocating for reduction in the consumption of SSB in Nigeria. Yes, you are right by saying that there is a coalition. We have a coalition of, sugar reduction stakeholders who have been engaging government. We have been engaging government for years, and that engagement brought about some success in 2021, in the year 2021, when Nigeria passed a bill, the SSB tax. And then by around, June 2022, Nigeria government started deduction of 10 naira per liter on sugar sweetened beverages. So, which, even though it was a good start, but it is far too small to make any impact on, consumption of sugar sweetened beverages in Nigeria. But to make matters worse, last year, 2024, the current federal government stopped that deduction, claiming that they want to stabilize the economy. The information we got is that they were told that it will lead to unemployment, of Nigerians who are working in all these SSB industries. But we know that that is not true. Over the world, SSB taxes have been implemented in developed countries, in Asia, in America, in Europe, and it has not led to any unemployment. Instead, it has improved the health of the populace, and by reducing the per capita consumption of SSB. Now, what we're advocating as done is that Nigerian government should, as a matter of urgency, bring back the deduction of the SSB tax. This thing should be revived and even increased to about 200 naira per liter, because even the 10 naira was a far cry from what is recommended. The World Health Organization recommends that at least 20% increase in the cost of SSB, should be implemented. So medium to plead with the federal government to please resume the SSB tax deductions. That is number one. Number two, review it upwards. We are recommending 200 naira per liter. What that means is that a 50 cl bottle by the time naira per liter, that means a 50 cl will now be costing 300 naira. So that is enough. It may be enough to discourage people from consuming SSBs. Unlike the previous taxation, which was 10 naira per liter, which means that a bottle of soft drink will just attract additional 5 naira. So from 200 naira to 205 naira, It was too negligible to make any health impact. So that is number two. They should, the federal government should resume the deduction of SSB tax, and then review the.
All right. I hope the network gets better. I hope the network gets better. I have one more, which is equally important. It's about treatment and care. I understand that we had a conversation sometime last year with one of the executives of one of the health agencies, and he did say that diabetes is covered under the health insurance scheme. I wonder how much of that is a viable option for members of the Diabetes Association, particularly patients who are suffering from diabetes, such that the cost of treatment and care for diabetes patients can be reduced. How many, what's the level of interest in taking up the NHIS scheme and awareness amongst your members?
Well, the national health insurance coverage, as you may know, is still very poor, in this country. The last estimate is just about 5% of Nigerians are covered. In rural areas, this is almost non-existent. So it has not really translated into, a significant improvement in diabetes Yes, some that are currently covered under National Health Insurance scheme, but not all of them. There are still very many anti-diabetic drugs, that is number two. Consumables, for instance, the blood glucose monitoring meter and the strips, which have also gone up, their prices have gone up exponentially, making it difficult for, a diagnosis, because routine screening depends on testing the blood glucose using this meter and strips.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Prof. Thank you. Yeah. Apologies, Prof. The network distortions seem not to allow us here all your thoughts. But I think the message is clear. Highlighting today, creating awareness, and some of the things that have come through you, it's important for all of us to be aware, and for those who are sufferers to manage the situation properly, and those who are not affected to ensure that they don't get in, given the burden and the challenges that is being faced. But I must thank you, Professor Joffa Ogu, President, National Diabetes Association of Nigeria. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right.